Hello, everyone out there in the world joining us today at CMX Spark. I see some people in the room there. Let us know where you're tuning in from. So excited to have you here joining us for the first ever CMX virtual conference here in EMEA. This is our European conference, and we're so excited to have all of these community builders on this side of the world join us. So it is time to get started. So just real brief, if you're wondering, who am I? My name is Seppi, rhymes with Peppy, and I'll be your MC for the day here in the discussion stage. So I'm the founder of a community called She Hit Refreshed, and I'm also the co-host of CMX Connect Madrid alongside Valentina Ruffoni. Really excited today to be having Mary Job join us here. So if you guys can give me a very warm welcome in the comments here to come welcome Mary, who is a support engineer at PM Pro, which is Paid Membership Pro, a membership plugin firm. So hello, Mary, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you, Seppi, for that introduction. I'm also so happy to be here. Hi, everyone. Okay, so I'm just going to dive into my talk. Just a minute. I'm going to share my screen. Yes, here we go. Okay, so I'm just going to dive in, like I said. Hi, everyone, once again. Thank you for having me at CMX Spark EMEA. This is my first time joining in at CMS Spark, and I'm excited to be here, okay? So I'm going to start about how I got here. So today I'm going to be speaking on how being a part of the WordPress community got me a job and how it's keeping me here. So I'm going to start by going back to 2016, which was when we had our first Lagos WordPress community meetup event. I mean, this is me right here. I was a total newbie to WordPress here. I barely knew anything about the software. I was a blogger. I had no idea you could use WordPress to even build sites back then, much less use it to build custom applications. But for me, I think the search for me was I was trying to connect with people who did WordPress because I didn't even know how to set up hosting accounts and the like. So I was looking for a community of people, you know, I could ask questions, I could share, learn from, and share in their knowledge. But what I found instead was I found myself being a co-organizer, and I found myself having to learn about things that I was looking to learn. So here I was looking to meet other people to learn about WordPress. But what I found instead was I had to be the one learning about WordPress so I could also share my knowledge with other people, which was interesting because sometimes we would invite people for events and they probably wouldn't be able to make it, and then I would have to get up in front of everyone because I had this habit where I would always go through their slides, have them send in their slides, go through their slides and read about it and try to learn terms that I wasn't familiar with so that I could talk about it or contribute to the conversation, so to say, which is what I did. And then I found myself having to speak at meetups about SEO. I mean, I had no idea what all of these things were back then. I didn't know what digital marketing was. I was just a blogger writing on my personal blog. And here I was joining the community, got me to the position of being at the face, you know, so to say, of our community. And I had to sort of be a leader when I wasn't prepared to be a leader at all. I mean, I didn't even know how to be a leader. But one thing I know that helped me a lot was being ready to learn, being down to earth, and, you know, like, so I did this thing at meetups. Whenever we gathered at the beginning, when I'm making the introductions, I always tell everybody, this is an informal space. Everybody should be free to share. You know, we're not going to be some cooked up in suit and tie. You know, we're going to be really free. Everybody should be open. There's no top-bottom approach. You know, we're all like on the same page, and we're all here to learn from each other. And it's been really amazing. I mean, coming from just blogging in 2015, 2016, and then finding myself in website design with WordPress. And in 2017, you know, when you meet other people like that, you to also meet the experts and like, oh wow, so you mean that you work remotely? Then I didn't even know what working remotely meant, much less saying I wanted to work remotely. But you know, eventually I met a lot of people who were doing this. These are people you probably would not find on social media all the time. So for me, that was an inspiration, and that made me to commit more into learning about WordPress, like really deeply, to be able to teach other people. If there's one thing that I know that I'm very good at, it is teaching other people what I know. Because people tend to like hold back on what they know, like, no, no, if you teach people, then everybody knows. But for me, it's more of, if I teach people, then I'm also learning in the process. It becomes stuck in my head. Like if I wanted to set up a website now, I know the steps to take. It's like ABC, you know. But this won't happen if you're not constantly talking about it or sharing it. And for me, that was how I learned. That also got me to my first stage outside my region. This was at WordCamp Cape Town. I remember I was so nervous giving this talk. It was about how WordPress gave me an identity in the tech world. And the reason for that was because before WordPress, I wanted to be an HR person, you know, have I work in an office managing people. I like managing people. And I didn't think that this would be somewhere where I would earn a living in the future. Like for me, that thought did never crossed my mind. But here I was meeting so many other people in Cape Town that I mean, I met people in their 40s, in their 50s, in their 30s. I'm like, wow, this is a really huge community. It sort of opened my eyes to the opportunity and potentials within, you know, within the industry. Like, oh wow, so I could be this other person, even though I was coming from a philosophical background and not a computer science background. You know, for me, I think it boiled down to, if you want to do something, you put your mind to it, then you can't do it regardless of what field you're coming from. Uh, for instance, back in 2016, if you had asked me what HTML was, I would have told you. I don't know what that. I didn't even know what that was. That's just the fact. But today, I know what it is, and it's only because I joined the community of WordPress users, you know, and I became friends with a lot of people in the WordPress community globally. I was learning from a lot of people. I was seeing the opportunities. So because I know one question people used to ask me back then when we had the meetups, when we were growing, you know, they'll be like, so why WordPress? Initially, I never had an answer for them. Like, I'd be like, why? I can't tell why WordPress. But today, if you ask me why WordPress, I would say, why not WordPress? It empowers you. Like WordPress had me learning about digital marketing, SEO, about writing. I know my writing has become way better than when I first started, about programming, you know, about polyglots, you know, like there are just so many opportunities in the field that I saw and I thought, oh yes, this is inspiring. This makes me want to go deep into WordPress development, which also got me to where I am today, working at PM Pro. So I'm going to run through my 5 tips. The first one for me is contributing to open source. And I always tell people, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be WordPress. Because I'm a huge WordPress fan doesn't mean I'll preach to everybody to come be a WordPress contributor. But just contributing to WordPress alone, I would say it totally changed. It changed everything, you know. So for me, contributing to open source, I mean, you could find any open source project you could contribute to, and there are like so many ways you could contribute to open source project, contribute to different, as a writer, as a document specialist, as a marketer, as a, you know, as a polyglot, as a trainer. Like the list is really endless. So I always tell people, find any open source community is something that goes in line with your passion. Like I like managing people, which is why I thought, okay, let me apply to be a co-organizer. I think I would like being, this is something I could do, you know, even though I didn't anticipate I have to start learning about things that were outside my purview, which have been really helpful till today. The next thing is staying teachable for me. You have to always be ready to learn new things, you know, unlearn things that are not good and then relearn new things. Staying teachable for me means I don't consider myself the expert. Like I meet them physically or when they call me on phone, they're always saying, I'm very the WordPress expert. And I don't see myself as a WordPress expert because I see myself as a learner still. Yeah, but a lot of people, I mean, even at the beginning, a lot of people thought I was like a really hardcore programmer, you know, and I had to like, oh no, I'm just learning HTML and CSS, you know, I'm not that person, you know. So staying teachable means that I'm able to still be down at everybody's level because I don't think I'm a person that ever liked the top to bottom approach. I remember I took this job one time and my boss used to fight with me like I'm always on the side of the employees. I'm supposed to be on the management side. And I made him understand that if you can't be at the level of the employees, then why are you even running a business? I mean, you should, you know, always be teachable. Staying prepared, share often. So one of the things that I picked up during my master's program, God bless my supervisor and professor now, she's late. She taught us what it meant to share our knowledge and share it often. One of my majors was knowledge management. I mean, for me, yeah, I liked sharing my knowledge, but I didn't really know why. Taking that course meant I understood why, because she had this analogy that two people are trying to invent something. They're like on the two ends of the globe. One person is has gotten the beginning part of that innovation. The other person has the last part of that innovation. But by not sharing whatever it is they're working on, I mean, how there's literally no chance of them connecting and being able to come together to make something great, right? So for me, I find that when you share what you know very often, it helps a lot. You should always be willing to share with anybody when you're called upon. uh, Stay prepared, be updated on news in our industry. There's something I see a lot of people do these days, like so many trends. You see people say, oh, this language is better than that language, and people are upping on different, you know, yeah, stay updated on news, but not jump on every trend. I mean, it doesn't stop you from learning the basics of how another software works or something, but jumping on different trends I think it's a disaster for me because when you're focused on one, then you can master that one, and then you can understand the basics of others, so that when you're called upon, you can speak about it, but maybe it's not your own area of specialization, and that's okay. That's fine. Uh, this is often overlooked. This being able to get information online. It's a skill that is, if you can master that skill, for me, that's one thing that I would say was a major ingredient in me getting here. Being able to search, being able to, like, Googling is at the tip of my fingers. If I don't know something or I come across something new, I just go Google immediately. I remember when I started my first job, when I started my first remote work at PM Pro, there was an update to our software, and you know how GitHub would show you the release notes. And I remember looking at the old release notes. I didn't quite understand it. I was like, okay, what am I looking at? I'm not quite sure what I'm looking at. I read it, I understood, like, okay, yeah, this seems to be an enhancement to this future. This seems to be this. You know, all it took was me going to read, like, okay, yeah, what are release notes? Okay. And then today, if I see one, I know what I'm looking at. I understand it perfectly. Another thing that I would say is staying a mentee. So people often think that when you're good, then you don't need to be taught anymore. But for me, I think one of the things that got me here, and thanks to Caspar, who was my mentee at the beginning, was being able to reach out to people who were willing to spend their time showing me things that I wasn't seeing from my own perspective. The thing with having different mentors is they're able to see things from their own perspective. You're able to bring that to what you know and what you see, and you're able to become a better person in the process. And I think another mistake we often make sometimes is we want somebody to mentor us, but we're not ready to meet them halfway. You should be able to meet your mentor halfway. Rather, you should be prepared. This goes back to all the things I've said before. You should be prepared. You should know how to get information, know how to read them. Know how to digest them. And then for the ones you don't understand, you can always ask for help. Not that you're asking for help for basic things that you could easily find online.
And the bonus tip for me is to keep a personal blog. The only reason I'm here
today is because I started blogging on WordPress. And for me, it was a personal blog. I remember people asking me, don't you want to like specialize, like talk about only food? I'm like, no, it's just a personal blog. It's a place for me to express myself. When I go back to my early blog posts, they're so long and, so complicated. But today when I write, I know how to summarize my posts. I know how to write concisely. I go straight to the point, which and I still keep my personal blog. I'm still running it at the moment because I find that writing also helps me to express myself better. It also helps you to improve in your communication skills. So from these are the 5 tips. I hope it will help somebody out there as it has helped me and it's still helping me today. Yeah, so if there are any questions, I would love to take that now. I hope I didn't spend too much time.
Not at all, Mary. Thank you so much. Yes, we do have a question out there. Let me also encourage, I know some people tuned in after we started. So if you're just tuning in, welcome to CMX Spark EMEA and Mary's talk here on how belonging to a community got her a job. If you have any questions, let us know. You can drop them in the chat, but you can also drop them in the Q&A box at the top here. So I'm going to go there and see what questions we have for Mary. We have a few minutes for questions, so if you have any, please let us know. Gonna hop in there. But Mary, I loved your 5th point about having a blog. For me, myself, kind of starting my own personal blog was my gateway into community. So I think that is just an amazing tip there to have. Also, your blog can become your portfolio without even creating a portfolio. You're creating content. Like you said, you wanted to share your interests and talk about certain topics. You do that, express yourself, and then you have this whole line of work or this whole portfolio of work that you can show.
Yeah, because my first job was actually because of my personal blog. Somebody reached out to me and said, I've been following your blog. You blog on WordPress. Can you manage our WordPress site? I didn't even know about .org. I didn't know there was something called self-hosted WordPress blogs back then. I was like, oh, really? You have a website on WordPress? That was my first job, like my first freelance job, because it was a firm in the UK, and it was like I just went Googling and like, okay, yeah, let's learn about this, So that blog for me is very important. I still keep my blog, by the way. There's a question there somebody's asking.
Yeah, that's gonna lead into our question. So Francesca, who's in London, asked, what was your original blog about, and are you still working on it?
My original blog was a personal blog. It's still a personal blog. So I talk about any and everything that I come across. For me, so I had, growing up, I was this quiet child. I wasn't good at expressing myself. That blog was set up to be able to express because if you ask me to tell you how I feel back then, I could write it in 5 pages. Like it was that bad. But today, I could write it in 1 paragraph, right? And that blog was set up for that purpose, to be able to express myself. So my blog is still on, it's still running. It's in my slide. The link to the blog is my slide. If you want to go over there to read up my early and late blog posts.
Fabulous. Do you mind dropping your blog in the comments below, and people can click on it and see your blog there for those that are interested? Fabulous.
Yeah.
If you guys have any more questions, let us know. Drop them here. We have a few more minutes. Anything you want to ask Mary, about her journey into getting a job through community. So let us know. And if you're tuning in, let us know where you're tuning in from too. We have Francesca, who is in London. Mary, I'd love to lean in a little bit more about meeting your mentor halfway. I think that's also a really great point. Any suggestions for people, any more information you can give to people on how to maybe approach a mentor or how to find the right mentor?
Yes. So the thing about finding a mentor, I think a lot of people mostly go for people that they think are supposedly experts, like the popular ones, and that's fine. But you also forget that there are so many other people who can be your mentor, but you don't see they're not popular, but they're equally very, very good. So when you're finding a mentor, don't go for popularity, right? Go for accessible, Everybody values their time. Everybody has to spend their time on something. So you want to meet the mentor halfway in the sense that you have to come prepared. Like somebody came to me recently and I was blown away because she met me like halfway. Everything I would say, before I would say this, she would go find out about it and then come back and tell me what she finds. That makes me excited. That makes me happy to be a mentor, because I'm like, oh wow, I'm so eager to be a mentor to this person, because the person is meeting me halfway. Not that the person is asking me like really basic questions that they can really start. I'm not saying asking basic questions is bad, by the way. Not everybody can learn as fast as other people, right? But you have to show the willingness that, okay, yes, I'm willing to actually, get these answers by myself and have you explain them, right? That's what I think.
Definitely show initiative. And I like how you say you don't have to go for the most popular. You don't have to go for someone who's 10 steps ahead of you. A mentor can be someone who's just 2 or 3 steps ahead of you because you're trying to get where they are. You can make those leaps with different mentors along your journey. All right, we have time for one more question. Any more questions out there? I see some new people joined us. If you have a question for Mary, please let us know. Welcome again to CMX Spark. Amia here. Very excited to have you all joining us. And Mary was the first session today on the discussion stage, sharing with us her story of how belonging to a community got her a job. For anyone that's tuning in late, this session is recorded, so this will be available for the replay. It looks like we have, so Mary dropped some additional links here, so I'll share those in the chat. If you guys have any more questions, let us know. Would love to take your questions here live. Go ahead, Mary, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, I'll still be hanging around while I work. I'll still be I'm definitely going to watch other talks. I'm interested in a lot of other talks here, so I'll still be around.
Fabulous. Well, I'm going to share here. Mary shared a few more links, so I'm going to share that here for you all. All right. Well, I think with that, we will wrap up the session if there are no more questions. Mary, thank you so much for this incredible talk. For everyone viewing out there, give us a virtual round of applause. Drop some emojis in the comments for Mary. Let her know what you loved. And Mary, we're really appreciative for having you here at CMX Connect.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. And for everybody who's here, please stick around. We would love for you to show us how you're watching CMX Spark throughout this event. Take a selfie and post it on Instagram or Twitter with the hashtag CMX Spark EMEA. I'll drop that in the comments, and watch our virtual CMX photo wall come to life. So go to the photo booth at the top. You'll see here in the Bevy platform, the photo booth. Go to that link, take a picture, and share those pictures with us on Instagram and Twitter. All right. Here we go. I'm going to share that hashtag with you. Once again, thank you so much, Mary. We'll be seeing you throughout the event. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.